The words sliced through the dinner table like a blade. "Lydia, when we move into your duplex, I want the master bedroom renovated. It's only fair since we'll be living there long term." My brother's wife, Victoria, leaned back in her chair, fork dangling between manicured fingers, her smirk reflected in the crystal water glasses I'd set out for our monthly family dinner. My knuckles whitened around my own fork as I watched my parents nod in agreement, the way they always did when Nathan got what he wanted. The chandelier light suddenly seemed too bright, the dining room too small, as if the walls of my own home were closing in on me. "The west-facing windows would make a perfect nursery," Victoria continued, patting her still flat stomach. "We'll need to replace those hideous curtains, of course." My name is Lydia. I'm 34 and a property developer. This is the story of how I reclaimed not just my home, but my entire family legacy. I'd spent 5 years building my life brick by brick while they'd dismissed me as the family disappointment. The duplex they were so casually claiming had cost me everything. 3 jobs worked simultaneously, meals skipped, vacations abandoned. Every mortgage payment represented another night I'd fallen asleep at my computer, another client call taken during what should have been my lunch break. My father leaned back, wine glass in hand, his expression smugly satisfied. "Your brother has a family now, Lydia. He needs stability." His emphasis on family landed like a slap. "And you? Well, you'll figure it out. You always do." My mother reached across to pat my hand, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. "Be grateful you can help your brother. It's not like you're doing much with the place anyway, living there all alone." The dining room suddenly felt unbearably hot. A high-pitched ringing filled my ears as 20 years of being the family afterthought crystallized into perfect clarity. They had always seen me as disposable, the extra daughter whose achievements went unnoticed, whose sacrifices were expected, whose properties could be claimed on a whim. What they didn't know was that while they'd been pitying me, I'd been building an empire in silence. I'd watched this scene play out 100 times, Nathan wanting something of mine, my parents enabling him, me expected to smile and surrender, but not tonight. Tonight, everything would change. "When were you planning to move in?" I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. Victoria beamed, mistaking my question for acceptance. "We've already started packing. The movers are scheduled for next weekend." I nodded slowly, set down my napkin, and reached for my purse hanging on the back of my chair. The leather was cool against my fingers as I extracted a cream-colored envelope. "Well then," I said, sliding it across the polished mahogany toward my brother, "you should probably see this before you call the movers." Nathan reached for it with his typical entitlement, not even bothering to set down his wine glass. The envelope's seal made a satisfying tear as he ripped it open one-handed. His expression shifted from smugness to confusion to disbelief in the space of 3 seconds. The wine glass froze halfway to his lips, then lowered slowly back to the table without taking a sip. "What do you mean it's not yours anymore?" he finally managed, his voice suddenly thin. My mother's fork clattered against fine china. "What is he talking about, Lydia? Explain this nonsense right now." I leaned back in my chair, my heartbeat surprisingly calm. "That duplex doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to my company, and my company doesn't do free rentals." Victoria snatched the paper from Nathan's trembling hands, her acrylic nails scraping against the premium stationery. Her lips moved as she read aloud. "Signed over under property trust controlled by..." She froze, eyes widening. "Controlled by Lydia Holdings." "Lydia Holdings?" My father scoffed, but I caught the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Don't make me laugh. You don't have the brains or money to run anything with holdings in the name." The dining room fell silent except for the gentle ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. I let the moment stretch, watching them squirm. "Dad, remember when you told me to stop wasting my time with those online jobs? Well, those clients you mocked me for built my business, and now that business owns not just the duplex, but 3 more properties across town." My mother's champagne glass paused halfway to her lips, her carefully applied lipstick leaving a perfect crescent on the rim. "This has to be a joke. You buying property? Running a business? No, you've always been..." She trailed off, suddenly aware of what she was about to say. The weak one? I finished for her. That's what you wanted me to believe. But while you were busy worshiping Nathan, I was creating something you couldn't even imagine. The tension stretched between us like a wire pulled taut. Nathan slammed his palm on the table, making the silverware jump. You can't just throw us out. We already told the kids this was going to be their new home. I leaned forward, meeting his gaze directly. Then maybe you should have asked me before planning your future with my walls and my roof, because I'm not the little sister you can step on anymore. The room erupted into shouts, my father's face reddening, my mother's hands fluttering in distress, Victoria's voice rising to a shrill pitch. I simply reached into my purse again and extracted a second envelope, thicker than the first, its official seal gleaming under the chandelier light. The moment I placed it on the table, their voices died instantly. Angry protest transformed into nervous silence, like they sensed that whatever was inside could shatter the last illusion of control they thought they had over me. Go ahead, I said softly, fire burning behind my controlled tone. Open it. You wanted my life, my home, my hard work. Now you'll see what that really means. Nathan snatched it and tore it open. His hands trembled as he read the first page, lips moving silently before his voice cracked out loud. This is an eviction notice. Victoria's face drained of color. She yanked the papers from him, scanning frantically, her voice rising in panic. Effective immediately. Tenants must vacate within 7 days. Her eyes shot up to mine. Lydia, what kind of sick joke is this? Not a joke, I replied, folding my arms. That duplex is under my company's property management, and when someone tries to move in without a lease, without permission, without respect, I let each word land like a stone. They get treated like every other trespasser. My mother slammed her palm on the table. How dare you talk to your family like this? We raised you, we fed you, we gave you everything. I cut her off, my voice sharper than I'd ever allowed it to be in their presence. You gave me nothing but reminders that I wasn't good enough. While Nathan got everything handed to him, cars, college tuition, support, I was left to figure life out on my own. The words flowed now, years of silent suffering, finally finding voice. Do you know how many nights I cried myself to sleep, thinking I was worthless? How many jobs I worked? How many meals I skipped just to afford that duplex you're all so eager to snatch away? I leaned forward. And now you want me to roll over and let you take it? Not anymore. The table went quiet. My father narrowed his eyes, a vein pulsing at his temple. So what? You think you're better than us now? Just because you scammed your way into some online business? I laughed, the sound brittle and unfamiliar in the formal dining room. Scam? Dad, I built a real company. I've got contracts, employees, investors. While you were busy mocking me, I was signing deals that would buy this entire neighborhood if I wanted. Victoria shook her head, voice trembling. This can't be real. You can't have this much power. You've always been the pathetic one. I leaned forward, lowering my voice so every word struck with precision. The pathetic one just put an eviction notice in your hands. The pathetic one could turn off the lights in that duplex with a single phone call. The pathetic one owns more square footage in this city than you've ever stepped in. I raised an eyebrow. Maybe it's time you stop underestimating me. Nathan's face flushed crimson, veins bulging at his neck as he slammed the papers back onto the table. This isn't over, Lydia. You can't humiliate us like this. I tilted my head, the smallest smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Oh, Nathan, I haven't even started humiliating you yet. With deliberate slowness, I reached into my bag and pulled out one more document. This one was thicker, bound with gold-stamped pages that caught the light and made their eyes widen before they even knew what it contained. The second I laid the gold-stamped folder on the table, the air grew heavy with anticipation. My father squinted suspiciously. My mother clutched at her pearls. Victoria actually leaned forward like a vulture circling prey. Nathan ripped it open, hands shaking as he flipped through the pages, desperate to prove I was bluffing. But with each page turned, his expression crumbled further, until finally his voice emerged, barely audible. This is the deed. I nodded slowly, savoring the moment. Not just the deed to the duplex. That's child's play. What you're holding is the portfolio transfer. Every property I've purchased, every contract I've secured, all listed there. Duplex, condos, rental houses, dozens of them, all in my name, all under Lydia Holdings. My mother's gasp echoed against the vaulted ceiling. Dozens? You can't possibly afford that. I kept my voice steady, almost conversational. Remember when you laughed at me for working those late-night freelance gigs? When you told me my computer nonsense would never pay off? The memory of their mockery fueled my confidence. Well, those contracts turned into partnerships. Those partnerships turned into investments, and those investments turned into millions. I let that word hang in the air. Silent millions. While you were busy praising Nathan, I was buying up this city. The room fell into stunned silence, broken only by Victoria whispering under her breath, "Millions." I looked directly at Nathan, voice sharp as a blade. "So the next time you think about moving into one of my properties for free, remember this. You'll be filling out a rental application like everyone else." I paused for effect, and considering your credit score, I wouldn't hold my breath. The color drained from his face. You dug into my credit?" "Of course I did," I replied with a cold smile. "That's what landlords do, Nathan. They check if tenants are reliable. And guess what? You're not." I glanced at the financial reports I'd had my team compile last month when Nathan first started hinting about needing a place to stay. His spending habits and loan defaults were all there in black and white. My father tried to reassert his authority, voice booming across the table. "Enough of this show, Lydia. You're not embarrassing your brother in front of his family?" I turned to him slowly, letting the silence stretch between us. "Embarrassing him? Dad, I've been embarrassed my whole life. You called me useless, told me Nathan was the real success, treated me like trash." Each word released years of pent-up pain. But tonight, the tables turn. Because in this house, in this city, every brick you're standing on belongs to me. Everyone froze. My mother covered her mouth with a trembling hand. Victoria's eyes welled with tears, and my father looked as though he'd been physically struck. Nathan, shaking with rage, grabbed the portfolio and hurled it back at me. "You'll regret this, Lydia. You think you've won, but you've just made the biggest enemy of your life." I caught the folder mid-air and stood tall, my gaze locked on his. "No, Nathan. I didn't just win. I took back every piece of respect you all stole from me." I smiled, the final piece of my plan ready to be revealed. "And the best part? I haven't even shared the biggest surprise yet." His words still echoed in the dining room, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I stood taller, clutching the folder like a shield. "You think I've played my last card?" "No, Nathan." I tapped the folder gently. "This was just the warm-up." All eyes followed as I reached back into my bag and pulled out one final envelope, sleek black, sealed with a golden strip that caught the light. My father scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. "Another one of your dramatic tricks. Enough already, Lydia. We've humored your little game long enough." I laid the envelope flat on the table, slid it toward the center and leaned in. "Open it if you dare." This time, my mother snatched it up, tearing it open with trembling fingers. Her eyes darted across the paper, and within seconds, all color drained from her face. Her lips quivered as she dropped the document as if it had scorched her fingers. Victoria lunged for the papers, voice shaking as she read. "No, this says Lydia Holdings acquired Dad's company." The room froze in collective shock. My father jumped up, face flushed with anger and disbelief. "Impossible! That company's been in our family for generations." I met his gaze unflinchingly. "Correction. It was, until you defaulted on that loan. The shares were sold, and I bought them piece by piece. While you laughed at me, I became the owner." I'd tracked those shares for months, working with my finance team to acquire them through various holding companies whenever they appeared on the market. Dad never noticed my name on the acquisition paperwork. Gasps filled the room. My mother whispered, "This can't be real." Nathan slammed his fist on the table hard enough to crack a plate. "You ruined us." I leaned close, my voice calm but cutting. "No, Nathan, you ruined yourselves. I just stopped letting you ruin me." I gathered the contracts, stood tall, and smiled coldly. You thought I was weak, but tonight you learned the cost of underestimating me. I tucked the documents back into my purse. Enjoy your dinner. It's the last meal you'll ever eat at a table that doesn't belong to me. And with that, I walked away, heels clicking rhythmically on the hardwood floors. No longer the forgotten daughter, no longer the underdog. I was Lydia, the woman who rose in silence and came back to own everything they tried to steal. 6 months later, my father's company was fully restructured under my leadership. Nathan and Victoria had moved into a rental across town. No surprise, their application for one of my properties had been denied. My parents eventually apologized, though the relationship remained strained. As for me, I expanded Lydia Holdings into 3 more states, finally living on my own terms. The world that once laughed at me was now mine to control, and for the first time in my life, I was free. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.